coming to our lecture series event this morning. My name is Carly Evans. I'm the Director of Student Services, so maybe you can put a face to those emails that you received quite a bit if you haven't been introduced to Student Services quite yet. But I'm actually going to turn it over to Ashley DeWitt, who is our Student Government President, and she will do the introduction for us this morning. Go on.
Ms. Travis over here. Like she said, my name is Ashley DeWitt. I'm a radiation therapy student, senior here. I've been going here since last January. I love Kaiser. And I'm also a student government president, which we need more people listening. I'm here to welcome Nicole Travis here to give her presentation. She's actually been with the city of Lakeland for 9.5 years, and during which her time in this area, she's actually promoted from the CRA project manager to the community redevelopment agencies manager. And most recently, she has become the community and economic development director. Okay, I want to make sure I got that right. Also, during her time in the city, she's used her creativity and innovation in a way. She's managed multiple large complex projects to completion and significant development approvals. Nicole's background in architecture and private sector experience gives her a unique understanding of how to consider all aspects of the development process. Also, Nicole is a graduate of the graduate of leadership with Lakeland, class 34, and she is now holding a chair elect for class 37. Nicole is a native of the U.S. Virgin Islands and holds a Bachelor of Architecture and a Master's of Business Administration. And she's also been married to her husband, Sean, for 10 years.
Yeah, feels like an accomplishment.
And also has 2 beautiful children, Jordan and Madison. But yes, welcome, Nicole.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good morning. Just before the presentation started, we were just talking, do you ever get comfortable with public speaking? I'm in front of the commissioners all the time. I'm like, no, I get nervous every time and I don't like it. But yet still I'm here and I am excited to talk to you. And it's a different presentation that I'm giving today usually than what I'm typically giving to Rotary clubs and to the Economic Development Council and to the City Commission. I'm usually talking about big projects. I can talk about that for a very long time and about any development project that's happening in the city. But for this is something that I usually don't present on a lot, but it's something that I'm very passionate about. Really just giving people a little nuggets of information on how you can develop as a leader and as you're starting out into your profession. And so typically when we talk about leadership, there is a variety of different definitions of leadership, but hopefully today you see that it's a mix of traits and things that leaders need, and I hope that you get something out of it. And definitely the one thing that I've learned is that through leadership, that growth comes outside your comfort zone. And so each one of us have a comfort zone that you're comfortable, you're cozy, you have a steady performance. You know that if you keep at it, that you'll be great at it, right? That eventually you'll perfect it. You know that Miss Carol is going to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and that Mrs. Price is going to call you at 10:15 on the dot. You know how your boss wants his report, New Times Roman or Roman numeral, whatever it is, font style 12. It becomes comfortable, right? But really the growth comes outside of that comfort zone and knowing that you can't mess it up. It's easy to just sit there. So this is actually a picture of me under my weighted blanket in my comfort zone. Like, I am an extreme introvert. And it's easy for us to be comfortable in that zone. It's easy for us to not want to expand our capacity as leaders just because we're comfortable, we're snuggled in. But I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you that you have to push beyond that comfort zone if you want to grow as a leader. So, true story, that's how I look with my new weighted blanket that my mom bought me for Christmas. But when we talk about leadership, a lot of scholars and leadership gurus, they have definitions of leadership, and it's a process of motivating people to move or carry a vision forward, right? That's a traditional definition of leadership. And honestly, it's whack. It's one-dimensional. It's not really who we are today, because right now, you guys are here, some of you have jobs, you have children at home, some of you may have full-time jobs and still going to school full-time. And so leadership is one-dimensional, and hopefully when we go through the presentation today that you can find little nuggets of how you can be a leader even if you're not the top at the organization. A lot of people believe that in leadership that the head of the organization has to know it all, and you have to be the head of the organization or the work group to be the leader, and I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. And so the first pillar of being an exceptional leader is really integrity. Your actions and your words and the decisions that you make is really what shapes your team and it's who you are as a person. So if you cheat, lie, and steal, your team will not trust you. They will not want to follow you. They will be looking for another job. And so having a sense of integrity really is critical in having people follow you or take risks with your ideas. And so here's a true story. When I was working for the city of Lakeland, I was approving multi-million-dollar development projects. And this one particular developer, I rejected his project at least 4 or 5 times. But one day he came, and I remember it was a Wednesday, and he came in with a large set of drawings just wrapped up with a bunch of rubber bands. And he brings it to my desk, and he's like, "Hey, Nicole, I'm so glad to see you." And then he's tapping on the drawings as he's giving them to me. I'm like, what the heck is he doing? Like, why is he tapping on the drawings? Well, I was like maybe 24, 25 years old. I'd never seen a $500 bill in my life, and even in my late 30s, I still haven't seen another $500 bill. But he had a $500 bill wrapped to the drawings, and he's tapping on the drawings, and he's like, I'll come by tomorrow after you've approved my drawings. And so imagine if I had taken that $500, there was no one else in the office. No one else would have known whether I had approved the project because I had gotten this $500 bill. And honestly, I thought it was fake money. I was like, what is this? This guy is nuts. But imagine, what that would have done internally to me if I had accepted that. Because since being at the city of Lakeland, someone set up a lunch for me to meet a developer that wants to invest in our community, and guess who it was? Same developer. And we had lunch, and the confidence and comfort that I felt, that he knew that I could not be bought. You're in my city, you need my approval, and you can go take your crap elsewhere. So had to check that for a little bit. But this is a true story, right? And so what you do when no one is watching is the core of who you are. But it comes out, as a leader. Authenticity. Authenticity is the other part of being an exceptional leader. You don't want to ever change who you are just to get someone else's approval. And quite honestly, if you have 2 separate identities, that's a lack of integrity in of itself. But that's exhausting. I mean, really, do you have time with keeping up with here's my daytime self, and then here's my evening after 5 self? Like, you look like a liar, right? And no one wants to follow someone that has 2 personalities. So being who you are and being authentic and true to your purpose, the things that move you, the things that drive you, the things that you are passionate about, doesn't mean that you don't curve your edge. I've been told time and time again that, Nicole, you're a little intimidating, or Nicole, that was very direct. The reality is, folks, I am super intense, I am super driven, I am very effective, and I'm effective because of those things. I am very direct, and my friends that are here with me, Jonathan and Jovan, can attest to that. But I think that that's what makes me who I am. And I'm being true to myself, and when I'm in my authenticity, I'm able to communicate effectively, I'm able to tell people no to projects and they don't really understand, why would you tell me no? Because it's not for the greater good, right? If I'm just telling you yes, simply because I know that's what you want to hear, or there's a promotion hanging on it, or that I might get your recommendation for some award, I'm not being true to who I am. And there's a certain level of confidence that you have if you just stick to that. And then the third is grit, right? And so grit and being gritty is something that you really can't be taught. Grit is that downright stubbornness and unwillingness to give up. You set goals for yourself, right? And you figure out who in your family, who are your colleagues, who are your team members that are going to help you achieve these goals. And then you don't waver. You focus on the things that you can or that you have control over, and the things that you can't, you become creative on how you maneuver around those things. But grittiness it's really just being scrappy, setting 3-5-year goals for yourself and keeping your eyes on the mark and be unapologetic about what your goals are. And I think that if that grit is what helps you become creative, it helps the cream rise to the top. That's what leaders and organizations, that's what people that are looking for, trying to recruit and build the strongest team, you want those people that are relentless, that are not going to give up, that they're going to find a solution, solve a problem. That's what I'm looking for on my team. If you're the type of person that's like, well, Ms. Travis, this didn't work, I'm looking at you sideways. Like, don't come to me and tell me that this doesn't work. I want to know why it didn't work. Okay, it didn't work, so what are we trying next? And when you have grit, and you display grit as a leader, and you build a team that's just gritty and scrappy and willing to just go the mile, you also unlock a certain potential with your team. You give them the freedom to fail, right? So I'm gonna move on from that just a little bit. When we were talking about grit, I'm telling you that there's things that you can't change, or that you can't control, and change is hard, change is difficult. But it's the only way that we get results. And so a piece of advice is don't be that person. Don't be that person that resists change. Don't be the person that, commensurate with your colleagues and say, oh, they're changing this again. Like, don't be that person. You will never get promoted. You will never get asked to lead a team. You will not get asked if you are that person. You should be embracing change. Find a reason why, or try to figure out why that change is occurring, and build a team around it. Because what happens is you start to attract that kind of positivity, right? And so you may not really understand why the leader is making, I've made decisions in my department and no one understands why I do it. You don't have to understand why, just embrace it and execute. And if you have a suggestion on how to make it better, this is where you come in, folks. That's what leadership really is. And so your friends that are commensurating and, oh, I have to be here now at 8 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock, or whatever that change is, they won't get the promotion, but you embracing it and carrying the message, you'll be tapped and asked to do something else. So grow from it and be uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable with change. So I know that Leon Battle was here in the fall, and he talked a lot about servant leadership. And I want to tell you, when we talk about exceptional leaders, those are people that are servant leaders. They believe in serving first. Gone is the way that where you have leaders that I'm the boss and I just get to yell out commands to you and tell you what to do. A true leader is a person trying to figure out, how can I serve you on my team? How can I help you do your job better? You start to unlock a potential on your team that they feel that, or they're empowered really now to fail quick, fail fast, learn from it, and be creative about it. So if serving is beneath you, my friends, leadership is beyond you, quite honestly. I mean, you have to develop that mindset. If you cannot serve, you should not be leading. It's just quite simple. always remember to remain humble and have a sense of humility as a leader, whether you're a leader on a team that you're working on a class assignment. You might know the answer, you might be the one carrying the load. Nobody cares, right? Be humble about it, right? Offer your contributions, because at the end, I guarantee that you'll learn from it. I'll touch a little bit on that in a second. The majority of traditional businesses are managers that are transactional. They're just making sure that things get done. And this is where I'm here to tell you, don't be that person, right? The things will get done. If you are going to be in a leadership role, you should not be managing the transactions that are taking place. If you have built the right team, those things will occur and happen. You should be focusing on how do you build up your team? How do you expand their capacity? How can you invest in them so that they're giving you more? And a little secret, your team becomes a little more loyal to you. They think twice about going to another job, even if it is for more money, right? And so that's that authenticity and being okay with investing in your employees. I personally have experienced a boss that would not cultivate my talent or my curiosity into the profession. And so every time I asked for, hey, can I work on this project? I was told no. Can I do research for something that I saw was a problem? They would say no. And for the life of me, I really could not understand. Like, I was performing, I had done everything that I was asked to do, everything that was in my job description. But I knew that I had more capacity and I was asking for more. And my boss just kept telling me no, and I could not understand why. And eventually, as I grew, the only thing that made sense was that they were threatened or thought that I might outperform or outshine them. I am here to tell you that if you have the title and you're the boss, it does not matter if the person below you is outshining you. You can get the credit because you're the boss. You already have the position, right? So always look on how to cultivate your team, serving your people below you, and they will follow you into a burning building, I assure you, just because they believe in you, because they know that you believe in them. Here's my favorite one. This is the one that I talked about when I first came in this morning. So I started off 2020. I don't like public speaking. I speak in front of the commission all the time, but I still hate it. But I was like, I'm going to say yes to more opportunities that are going to stretch me and make me grow. And then here I get this email from Carly. I was like, dang, she got me on the resolution part. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. So I said yes, right? And so I want you to understand that experiential opportunities help you develop your skills and they help you build your resume. And I'm going to crack on some millennials for a second. I am so sick and tired of, especially millennials, and I got two here with me, so they know. People telling me that it's not in their job description or they weren't hired to do something. Cut that out. Stop that. Even if it's not in your job description, even if it's not what you were hired to do, those are experiential opportunities. You might not be getting paid to do it today, but that experience, that skill set, may be worth a few $1,000s from now. You are building your resume. And I understand that with internships and apprenticeships that sometimes they're paid and sometimes they're not. And sometimes we're not always in a position to get paid or to not receive paid while we're doing work or working for free. But find value in the skills and the experience for things that are not in your job description or things that you're not getting paid for. You are building your resume. You are building your resume, not because of the job that you have, but the things that you've done in the job that you have. So say yes to opportunities. It's uncomfortable. You might fail. And I'm going to tell true story. So when my bio was being read, she told you I was a CRA project manager and CRA manager. And CRA is the Community Redevelopment Agency. It's where you get to do a lot of fun, cool stuff. I was having fun. I had a small staff of 7. I got to bust out walls, create this really collaborative workspace in City Hall. There's no other space in there that looks like that. We don't have cubicles in that office. And I was having fun. The director position was vacant. The position posted. My husband encouraged me to apply for it. I was like, I don't want that kind of responsibility. No, I'm not doing that. And so I got other people from the community asking me to apply for the position. I was having fun as the CRM manager. So when the position closed, I was like, ooh, okay, now they could stop asking me for that. And then the mayor calls. And then, more people are calling and the pressure is there. And the reality is, it was going to stretch me. I could do CRA work with my eyes closed. I could do those creative projects with my eyes, albeit challenging, I could do them. The director position, I wasn't sure about that. 70 people, that's 70 personalities, 70 problems, and went from being their peer to now their boss. I was like, ooh, this is something different. But I would tell you, it is the best decision that I've made in my career because it has stretched me, and I grew from it just working through the challenges, the same challenges that I was afraid of in taking the job. I grew from taking on that position. The experience of having to restructure or coming from a long tenured director that was my predecessor and changing the culture and making it my own is a lesson that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. So say yes to opportunities. Don't be afraid of failing. You will fail. It's just how fast will you dust yourself off, try again, and apply what you learned in that failure to the next job. So say yes, find a problem, solve it. The success will follow. When you are known as a problem solver, they will find you, they will recruit you, and they will pay you. That's a given. I'm totally off script. But the experience and skill that you gain from doing a task, I mentioned to you, again, you're not getting paid for it today. And don't let that, you might be thinking it, but don't let that come out your lips. Don't let anybody hear you saying that. Try to figure out, how can I word this on my resume? What else can I learn from this? And it might be something that you know how to do already. Add another element to it that's going to stretch you or grow you. Use a different program. Collaborate with some different people. Some of the most successful projects that I have as being an introvert, I don't drink coffee, and I don't like necessarily I'm not an extrovert person. I don't like to be around a lot of people all the time. But my most successful projects came from me pushing past that and going to have coffee with people, having conversations and just about ideas. My greatest success have been born of being uncomfortable doing those things. So the last one is communication. 90% of leadership is the ability to communicate. It doesn't mean that you should be the talking head that's just adding to the global warming crisis, like you just talk to hear yourself talk. To be an effective communicator also means being a good listener, reading nonverbal cues, right? Crossing your arms, they're yawning, they're slouching. You need to pick up from that. That's being a good communicator. Take time to communicate effectively. And so what that means is that you're going to have to prepare. You have to prepare for what your communication strategy is going to be. What are you going to talk about? Are you talking about objectives? Are you talking about goals? Are you talking about what needs to be done next? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to your boss? Are you talking to a team member? Are you talking to a colleague? How will you communicate with them? Are you going to do it in an email? Does it need to be in a face-to-face meeting? God help me if you're going to send a text message to communicate it. But you got to think through these things. And then where are you going to communicate that? Is it the type of conversation that needs to happen in a coffee shop in an intimate setting? Is it the kind of conversation that you need to deliver to a team in an auditorium? Is it the kind of conversation that needs to happen, in a smaller meeting space environment? You really have to think through that because all of that is a part of your communication. If you're delivering some bad news to someone, you don't want to do it at the board meeting with the rest of the staff, and that you have to think through these things because all those things matter as far as your communication. So I'm going to give you 5 tips for effective communication. And I told you earlier that I'm known for being extremely direct. I don't apologize for it. People, they don't have to guess where I am on an issue. I will tell you. There's this thing in the South where people don't like to tell you no to your face. So they'll drag their feet and they'll say, well, and they, just tell me, so you can move on. That's how I am. Everybody doesn't take it the same way. But I think that when you want to be an effective communicator, you have to communicate, and you have to communicate relentlessly, over and over. Over communicate is better than no communication at all. And then simplify. Don't talk in acronyms. Those of you that have on the scrub, don't talk in your code words, you know, because you could probably have a full conversation using acronyms and I have no clue what you're talking about, right? So simplify it and be direct with the message. And what do you need? Listen. Don't listen to solve. Don't listen trying to figure out a solution. Be an active listener. Ask questions and encourage engagement and input with the people that you're speaking with. And then illustrate, tell stories, make sure that you connect with the person. Make sure that they understand where you're coming from. I can communicate a message that would be delivered differently if I didn't tell a story. If I told a story, they're like, oh, that's what she's talking about. I am from the Virgin Islands, so culturally sometimes there's still some things that I do differently, even though I've been here for a long time. If I talk to my mom and my sister long enough, you'll hear my accent, and I just do things differently. But tell stories, connect with the person. And then the last thing is affirm. Make sure that they understand what you're talking about. And be consistent. Your actions, consistency matters. Your actions is what affirms that communicate what has been communicated. So 90% of exceptional leadership is communication, so you have to work on your communication skills. Don't be super passive, and the worst managers or leaders are the ones that don't want to deal with a difficult issue, and they avoid it and they kick the can down the road. You are not doing yourself any good services, or you're doing a disservice to that person as well. So I told you I was going to give you 6 different tips, but I'm going to give you a bonus. People with good attitudes or just happen to be luckier than people with bad attitudes. I mean, seriously, just be a good human being. Just be good and true to who yourself. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. Hopefully you got some nugget of information that's applicable to you and your journey to being an exceptional leader. And if I can ever be of service to any of you, or if you just want to talk, want to meet with me, here's my contact information. Thank you for inviting me. Any questions? Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So your determination and your drive, did that come from something in your upbringing, or did you become more driven as you got through your career and became more successful?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my mom was an executive on the governor's cabinet in the Virgin Islands growing up, so I had the privilege of seeing my mom in leadership roles and big, powerful roles. And my dad was a U.S. Federal Marshal and then the chief of the district. So I grew up with parents that had big leadership roles, and a lot of people are not afforded that opportunity. I am extremely grateful for that. But as I experienced more and took on other projects, there's something that kind of, the switch that flips, and so that determination, if somebody tells me no, I don't hear no, I just think, okay, well, that's not gonna work, let me just figure out another way. So that works for some people, and other people don't really like that. But so I think it's a combination of my upbringing and the experience that I've had as a youth, and also having successes along my career journey. Yes?
Do you think people that didn't have that type of upbringing might learn to acquire skills?
Absolutely, absolutely. Without question, that's why I tell you, like, you have to, that's where that grit comes in, right? If you set a vision for yourself, so I don't take it for granted that I had that experience and that background and exposure, right? But I also believe that you have to help bring people up. And so you have to be willing to mentor and be mentored. And being mentored is not going to someone saying, oh, would you mentor me and meet with me once a month to tell me what I need to work on? No, be observant, read, find books, find tips, follow people on Instagram that is pouring out different messages, and you don't have to get it all at once. Little nuggets. So when we talked about setting goals for yourself, pick a goal and stick to it like hell. I mean, learn everything that you can along the way to develop your skill set. And another tip for young professional people that are entering their careers, don't be defensive if you get feedback. If you get feedback, take it as constructive criticism and learn from it. If you are defensive, people will be hesitant to give you constructive feedback on how you can refine. So your mindset should be the whole time, how can I refine my skill? How can I refine who I am and how I'm perceived as a leader? You just pay attention. Pick somebody that's in the field, the profession, that's knocking it out of the park. What are they wearing to work? What time are they showing up to work? How are they speaking? Are they speaking in dialect, broken English? Are they Snapchatting? Like, seriously. And that's the other thing. Surround yourself with people that are going to help you get to the goals. If you are surrounding yourself with people that are not adding to the value of where you want to be, you need to drop them like a bad habit. I mean, seriously, what did they say? Like, you're like the average of the 5 people that you hang around with? If that's the case, you need to pay attention to who that is, right? I mean, seriously, if you think about it, the 5 people that you are around the most, and you're the average of the 5 people, what does that say about you? Are you proud of it? Are you learning from it? Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, that you can learn from. Heck yeah, you can do it. Absolutely.
Do you have any books that you recommend?
Yeah, there's a couple. So it depends on the stage of where you are. The one that I'm reading now is Radical Candor, because I think that everyone doesn't understand, it's all that communication thing that we talked about, right? The benefits of being candid, but still having the empathy to understand, relate to people. So that's the book that I recommend now. I'm actually writing a book now with some tips, and hopefully by summer I'll have some more on it. But there's another one that I like. It's outdated, but it's the Curmudgeon's Guide to what is it? The Curmudgeon's Guide. I'll email the book list to Carly and get it out to you. But it's like super outdated, but it's like do's and don'ts of what you should do in the workplace. And then there's another one about hustle and being humble, and it's the 3 H's. But I'll definitely send you guys a list.
The Curmudgeon's Guide to Getting Ahead.
Curmudgeon's Guide to Getting Ahead. It's super outdated. The guy that wrote it is a curmudgeon, but he has some good tips in it. Somebody got something? You had a question? Yes. Yeah, you. It's a purple shirt. Yeah.
Perfect. Quick question. So you mentioned about communication just now, and in the era of subtext and subtweet, everyone wants to have all this inference. When have you found that being direct has been detrimental?
When you're direct without the empathy on the other end. So when you're delivering a message, in order for it to be perceived or to be received in the right way, you have to